Hi, welcome to Mum's Eye View. My name is Ysis and I'm a first-time mum of a 10-month-old baby. Today I'm here to share with you some tips on weaning your baby onto solid foods and also share some very quick and easy recipes that you can make if you've just started on the weaning journey. But first I have some news to share with you. Mum's Eye View is changing and there are some exciting things coming up the next few weeks, so you do not want to miss this. Make sure that you subscribe to the Mum's Eye View channel and check back in the next couple of weeks to see exactly what we're talking about and to know what's going on. Now back to weaning. It usually happens around about 6 months old and it can be a very fun experience for the whole family. It's also the point when you realize that your little baby is not a little baby anymore and it's suddenly growing very quickly. So it's bittersweet to want to move your baby to the next stage but also saying goodbye to the previous stage. Moving from milk to solid foods as the main form of nutrition for your baby can be very messy, but it can also be quite a lot of fun. So all I would just say is embrace the mess and try to make it as interesting and as fun as possible for you and for your baby. So let's start with some weaning tips. The first tip is to make sure that your baby is having his or her food at the right temperature. So always check the temperature of the food on the inside of your wrist, because this here is quite a sensitive area of your body and it will give you a right measure of how hot the food is. The food should not be hot, it should be lukewarm, and that's kind of like the safe temperature for your baby. If you're looking for some useful accessories, I've got a couple of things that may help with checking the temperature of your baby's food. You can have a heat sensitive bowl which will detect the temperature of the food and it will go white if it's too hot, and then you know that you will only feed your baby when it goes back to being the original colour. Another thing is a heat sensitive spoon, and that has the same principle as the bowl. If the food is too hot on the spoon, the tip will go yellow, and if it's the right temperature, it will stay the same colour. Second tip is to freeze everything that you can to save you having to cook every single day. It can be very time consuming to be cooking purees every day for your baby, and some of the recipes that I'll be sharing with you a bit later are freezable, so always look out for those ones because they're very convenient. And a good way to freeze your baby's food is to use these freezing pots that you can get from supermarkets. These ones are from Asda and they are literally the right amount that you feed your baby when they're just starting weaning. And it comes with this little tray as well, which is quite handy to keep all the pots in one place. If you don't have these, don't worry, you can also use ice cube trays, they're just as good, but just make sure that you're minding the portions that you're giving to your baby. Tip number 3 is to let your babies get messy. They learn about different textures like this and how to feel the food properly, how to grasp it, and I know it can be quite an anxious moment for parents, especially the ones that like everything to be clean and tidy, but just embrace it. Just let your baby explore the food. Just make sure that you're on a surface where the mess won't cause too much of a problem. If you have an area in your house that's not carpeted, like tiled or wooden floor, that's probably the best place for you to let your baby explore food, because if it falls on the floor you can just wipe it clean. Also make sure that you put bibs on your baby to protect their clothes. I really like these ones from Tommy Tippy. They're kind of travel friendly because they fold really small and they're a nice soft rubber material, so it won't rub against your baby's neck over here. It's quite nice and soft, and it has 3 levels of closure here depending on how tight or how loose you want, but these are really great. They also catch all the fallout of the food in here, so it's much nicer to tidy up and clean. Tip number 4 is don't add salt or sugar to your baby's food. It's not necessary. Your baby won't be missing out on anything and it will only do them good, because not having the extra salt and sugar, it's what we all need, right? Also be mindful of foods that are restricted to babies of a certain age, like don't give your baby honey before they're 12 months old. Things like raw eggs, nuts, these are all things that you need to be careful and do your research properly before giving to your baby. Tip number 5 is cow's milk can replace your baby's formula or breast milk when they turn 1 year old. Not before then, because cow's milk doesn't have enough nutrition and enough vitamins for your baby, but after they're 1 you can replace their baby milk for cow's milk, which is a lot more convenient for parents because it's much cheaper and much easier. You don't have to worry about making up bottles of formula. And tip number 6 is don't feel guilty for using ready-made pouches or jars of baby food. You cannot be expected to cook every single day, and they can also be very handy when you're out and about. Our favorite ones are Ella's Kitchen ones because they're so good So convenient, and they're not full of horrible stuff, which is the best bit. And these little ones are very useful for when you first start weaning your baby, because they're single flavour and they're a very small size. We love the pears and the bananas ones. My son also likes apples and the mangoes ones. But I would definitely say have some of these handy in your cupboard if one day you don't fancy cooking, or if you want to go out for the day and you don't want to have the hassle of taking frozen food. If you don't want to use them, that's okay as well. But for me, I just find that they are very useful and my son absolutely loves them. A few other very quick and practical tips that I could think of the top of my head is make sure you offer sips of water to your baby with their food, because it helps them digest. Something to keep them occupied, try giving them their own spoon to hold. It might detract them from trying to grab the spoon out of your hand. Another thing is sit and eat at the table with your baby, because they will start to learn the manners of the table and they'll start to know that meal times you sit with everyone and just kind of get into like the family mood of eating with everyone. And one last tip which I think is very important is do not force your baby to eat, just let them take their time. If they're not interested in the food, try again the next day. Don't rush anything. It won't be pleasant for him and it won't be pleasant for you. You can find all of these tips in the As the Good Living magazine, which you can pick up in any Asda store. Now let's get on with some cooking, and today I'm going to be doing 2 recipes which are very quick and easy and simple and won't have you chained to the kitchen all day long, because no one has time for that. The first thing we're going to be cooking today is a beet and sweet potato mash, which you can introduce to your baby when they first start weaning and around about 6 months old. And it's very rich in fibre, folic acid, and it's a good source of vitamin A for your baby. Don't be scared if you suddenly check your baby's nappy and that there's pink wee all over the nappy. It's just the colouring of the food. It's absolutely fine and perfectly normal. For this recipe today, you're going to need 1 small fresh beetroot, 1 small sweet potato, 1 apple, and 2 tablespoons of your baby's milk. I'm going to be using ready-made milk because for me it's more convenient at the moment, but you can use normal powder formula or breast milk if you breastfeed your baby. The first thing you're going to do is wash everything and make sure it's all clean. Then you're going to peel and chop your beetroot and sweet potato. Next, you're going to peel, chop and core your apple. You can make the pieces as small as you like, but try to make them all at the same size so that they cook evenly. Then you're going to steam your beetroot and sweet potato until they're tender. Then add the apple and cook for another 5 minutes. When the food is tender to your liking, let it cool for a few minutes and then mash it all up together with your baby's milk until it's nice and smooth. If you do have a blender, you can quickly whiz everything up in the blender as well. And that's it. You can serve it to your baby immediately, or you can store the leftovers in an airtight container in your fridge or covered by cling film, and you can store it for up to 3 days. Now the next recipe we're going to do is for babies that are a little bit older, around about 7 to 9 months old, and it is a pea and mint puree. It's a really good source of protein because we're going to add some cheese into it, and it's going to help your baby to develop a taste for herbs. For this recipe you're going to need 100 grams of frozen peas, 50 grams of cream cheese, and 5 mint leaves. First, start by boiling some water, then pour the boiling water over the peas in a heat-proof dish and leave it for a couple of minutes. Next, you're going to drain the water and put the peas in the bowl. Add the cream cheese, the mint, and blend everything for a few seconds or until everything is nice and smooth, and you're done. You can serve this immediately to your baby as well, or you can store it in the fridge for up to 3 days, but this recipe you can also freeze for up to 3 months, so that's quite nice and convenient. You can find everything that I mentioned on this video on the Asda website, and there will be a link to everything on the description box below. I've also done a video on my channel sharing some bits and bobs that we picked up for our holiday to Brazil in a couple of weeks' time, and there are loads of very cute baby boy spring summer clothes. So if you fancy checking that out, the link to my channel is on the screen right now. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Mum's Eye View channel so that you stay up to date with all of the videos. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day. Bye!